Welcome to the BXG podcast, a podcast where pop culture and nerd culture meet at the nexus of the universe and are melded as seamlessly as billy goats at a baseball stadium and screaming goats screaming through space. I'm one of your hosts, the Alpha Donut Guy, Brenton Bestwick, alongside my co-host, Gregory T. Filson III, former Firestone Invitational champion. Greg,
this is true.
Or is it Bridgestone?
It is the Firestone Bridgestone. They're the same company, I think. But you just get a lifetime supply of tires, which actually would be awesome to win if that was a thing. A lifetime supply of tires would be pretty sick to win a golf tournament, get the money and the tires. I'm doing okay, Brenton. Week removed now, basically, from my trip. I thought you did an excellent job doing a solo show. So good job on that. My favorite portion was the Punxsutawney Phil question, then leading into our lottery guy. That was Gus. My favorite. Gus. Yeah, because I know people who still live in Pennsylvania as well that like you and talk about how much they hate Gus, and it's funny because very just a Pennsylvania thing. Only Pennsylvanians know Gus.
Yeah.
Good. It's good to be it's good to be back because I live in Santa Barbara. I'll say that. If I lived pretty much anywhere else, I'd probably be pretty annoyed because I like big cities. I've come to this term. This is where I've realized, and this is not a Santa Barbara thing. This is actually but the thing I like about going to a big city like Chicago, any big city, but like a massive city, is I'm not someone that goes and does things late at night. I really don't do things, but I like the idea that you can. Like, I love going past a place and it says open till 4 a.m. And I don't do that kind of stuff. And, in my younger days, I would occasionally do that, but I still wasn't. But I like the idea of being able to do that once in a 365-day year that you can do that. So that was cool. 90% of my trip was great. I will, if you're willing, I have a couple just kind of, semi-humorous stories, quick stories. I'll do the sad quick story first. Is that the trip was based on the very last day going to Wrigley Field because I had not been to Wrigley Field. We were going to Milwaukee, American Families Stadium. It's an insurance company. Going to Target Field, did both of those. Target Field ended up being like this rain mess and just bro out talking or hot dog dollar Tuesday thing. It was a mess. Milwaukee was great, beautiful weather. People were great. Honestly, just really good times. It was a very pleasant baseball experience. I honestly think I'll probably, when this is all said and done, I wouldn't be surprised if Milwaukee makes my top 7 or 8 stadiums just based on experience and everything. Wrigley, though, I texted you and Tyler earlier in the morning, said I'm not sure this is going to work out. It was rainy. This was I think it was about 8 o'clock Chicago time that I texted you guys about that because I couldn't go out it was earlier than that, but I couldn't go out for my run because it was coming down pretty good. But I was like, I've gone to games in Pittsburgh where this happens early and then they still go ahead with the game. And about 10:30 Chicago time, since we're at the Field Museum, I get the thing saying that the game was postponed. And I was like, what the hell? And it was coming down.
That's a bummer.
So 3 hours before the game, really bummed me out, put me in a sour mood. Like, I didn't even get to go to the stadium. I've been there before, but not for a game. I had a hotel, walked by. I went through a run and was around it, which was cool. That was a good experience too. But and then they get that so early, and then the real kicker the real kick to the nuts was we're walking around the city of Chicago at about 1:15, no rain, not even a sprinkle.
And you said it was a day game, right? It was originally
it was a 1:20 game.
Yeah,
1:20 start. And we were outside for most of that, like walking around, or we went to a restaurant and it was like open air and you could tell it wasn't raining. And from about 1 o'clock till almost 4, not a single drop of rain in the city. And you're just like, they might not have gotten 9 in, but they would have got 6. It would have got.
I think it would have got enough to make it a game.
Yeah,
Like
and
a
legit
an official
game.
Official game.
And yeah, it might have been a little messy. It might have been, but I mean, come on, it was just that really bummed me out. I mean, Janie asked me if this is something that happens a lot. I said, to really fully postpone a game is not something that happens a lot this time of the year. On the East Coast, you get those snow outs and stuff like that. And that doesn't even happen that often. But this time of the year,
I will say that Cleveland has experienced an unusual amount of rainouts this year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they've already played something like 6 doubleheaders this season.
That this was the first time I ever had a full postponement of a game. And I've been to.
Oh, really?
I bet I've been to.
No, didn't you and I have one?
No, it went on.
For Chicago? White Sox.
I think it went. Didn't they start it?
They started it. Yeah. Okay.
They started it. I'm saying it like full. Yeah. You didn't even get into the stadium, like that kind of thing.
And that was to me the craziest part about that was that it was a 1:00 game, and they didn't.
They just didn't try. Yeah. And that was the thing with this is like you're not even going to try, and it was because there were supposed thunderstorms. We didn't see a flash of lightning when we were at the Twins game. The whole stadium had lightning go around it, and we're just watching the game. And I looked at, I'm telling Janie, I was like, literally anywhere else the game is being called, like they're just saying we're done with this. We're not dealing with this right now. And it was just coming down. I had like a couple posts up on my Instagram, so that was a bummer. But to swing it back and the rest of the trip was great in Chicago, in the city. Great trip, a lot of food. If people saw the video where I had the ladies and I do a pizza review, that whole thing was just a lot out of nowhere. I just walked by because we had the Chicago style and they had the thin, and I was like, "How is it?" Real quick, and they're like, "Just go ahead and try it." And I was like, I will. And then we turned that into a whole video thing. Those ladies were great. Really great, really nice ladies, just Chicagoans. All of them were from Chicago and just went out there for dinner that random day and turned that into I thought one of my better videos.
I have to jump in here for a second because I did get a little bit of feedback from those videos on your Instagram.
Nice.
And well, don't jump the gun. I'll
take anything.
I was told by a couple different sources that since Dallas made reference, I've begun referring to myself as the Alpha Donut guy. You should be referring to yourself as the pizza plagiarizer.
The pizza plagiarizer?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because you shamelessly rip off this guy's one bite. Everybody knows.
Everybody knows I'm not shamelessly ripping off. It is a total rip off of it.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's shameless.
Yeah. Okay. I was just like, it's total rip off thing of it. Yeah. I don't care. I don't. That's the whole idea of it, is to completely rip it off.
So you are the pizza plagiarizer.
It's 100%. The thing on that is like, if I did anything slightly different, then people would still say I'm doing it. So you might as well my thing is, I've always said, you either full ass or ass something. You never half ass it. So I'm full ass the plagiarization of it. Oh yeah.
It's totally just a brazen,
it's almost very brazen.
It's almost braver to just keep going, I think.
Oh, I will keep going. That's the only way to do it. I had people come at me about it before, very early on. And they're like, you're just mocking Dave. And I'm like, I'm not mocking Dave. I'm saying that he's really good at what he's doing on this. Why would I think what I'm going to do is any better? You're reviewing pizza at the end of the day. What else am I going to do? Make it out of 100 and just say it's a 96? You know what I mean? Like it's just something like that. It's like, there's not a lot else you can do. You rate pizza. You say it's one bite. Everybody knows the rules. You eat 3 bites of it. It doesn't make any sense. And you move on. That's the whole idea of it. He created an app for it. I mean,
I just saw that. I was Googling it.
Yeah, he's done all these different things. Like, I'm not going to say on my end of things, I'm not trying to, this is the thing. I'm not trying to recreate the wheel. I just driving the car. That's all I'm doing. So, if people want to say it's funny though. Like, I've had, I don't know how many videos, almost probably 70, 80 videos now of pizza reviews. And this is the first time people have said like, excuse me, to you plagiarizing. So, thanks for watching.
Well,
I'll continue to do it.
Well, listen, I think that it's something that, as the pod grows in popularity, and the YouTube channel, we were talking before we went on, the YouTube channel gained, some fresh new subs this week, today. I think that, and there's not all of them, but there's several of your reviews on there. So yeah, you're going to get more exposure,
I hope so.
Just as long as you're not giving more exposure.
No,
that would be salacious.
That would be salacious. And then
would it be capricious?
Could be capricious. The name of our podcast, the Capricious Podcast. And then my one other story that I'll go into is so we were renting a car. We didn't have a car for the entire time. We just rented cars for when we needed them. And we were going to, take our car to Minneapolis, rent a car in Minneapolis, or for Minneapolis. And I look up this, third party app. I'm not going to name the app because they're not paying us. And
Google.
Yeah. I mean, you just say whatever you want.
It was Google.
So I booked the car, and it gives me this address for 629 Monroe Street it just says that Chicago, Illinois. Doesn't say anything else.
Be careful. Those presidential streets. That's where a lot of violence happens.
Or Madison. I'm sorry, Madison. And I click on the thing, and it shows me where the address is at. And I'm like, okay, cool. We'll take the bus. We'll go to this. We'll get our car, and we take the bus. We go to this address, and there's nothing there. It's just a big industrial area. There's a parking lot. There's not a Hertz rental anywhere. So I go back, and I am fully investigating.
So you're saying that's what the app was? It was Hertz?
No, the app was not Hertz.
Oh, okay. It
was a third-party app. So Hertz was the rental car agency.
Okay.
So I go up and I look up Hertz, and I'm like, none of this makes any sense. This one's in this part of Chicago. This doesn't make any sense. Then I find one that is in Oak Park, Illinois, which is not even in the greater Chicagoland. It's Ernest Hemingway's birthplace. A good 8 to 9 miles outside of the city of Chicago, a good 4 miles from where our address was at, the exact same address, just in Oak Park, Illinois. So we ended up having to take a lift to get to this place because the bus would have taken us another hour and a half, something like that. It was complete craziness. You would not imagine that two places in a 7-mile radius would have the exact same address. Not even a 7-mile radius, just 7 mile straight line would have the exact same address. Completely threw that off. And then when you think that the rental car thing has been enough, we get to Minneapolis just in time for they told us that I have to return the car the next day by 6 o'clock. Now that doesn't seem like a big obstacle, but there was one thing Janie wanted to do. And I was like, well, we should be able to fit this in, no problem. So we do this, and it's getting a little close to the time. And as we're getting closer and closer to the city of Chicago, the traffic is getting worse and worse. And the time lapse on the driving app is saying, ooh, you're cutting it close. Yeah. And I was like, oh man, how far can I push this car? I have to get gas at some point because you can't have the gas. You have to have a full tank, when you drop it off, or at least close. And so I'm like, well, I got to get off at this one point, finally get gas. I'm like, well, hopefully this is just enough to get us there. And it takes us this back way, the app does, or the driving, whatever, takes the map. I think Google Maps is what I use. Took us this back way, so it was quicker. As I shut the car off, we made it just in time. It was 5:54. So by 6 minutes, saved ourselves a good chunk of change. Because if you do that thing where you miss it and you get charged for the next day, they destroy you on that. I forget how much it even would have been. So two little things, fairly stressful. I was doing some true
math.
Yeah, I was doing some true baby driving, as I like to call it, through the city of Chicago. I had a Chevy Spark, those are just little pieces of crap car.
Yeah,
I had it humming along at about 82 mph, on average between Minneapolis and Chicagoland. I was humming pretty good. That thing somehow took it.
What's the length of the drive? How long is it between Chicago and Minneapolis?
It's about 6 hours
Okay.
And then we had a stop where we went to this like this crazy house that this architect made, and I figured, oh, that'll give us a little time. But then it was just, things build up with traffic and everything that really slow you down. So perfect traffic is 6.5 hours. Our trip took about 9 hours with that hour. So you take that down. So about 8 hours for a normal 6.5 hour trip. Yeah. So a work day worth of driving, getting back. So it was a tough drive, but that was the same night that ended up going to the pizza place. But yeah, so that was those are the big stories. Other than that, just some good times. I really like Chicago. I haven't really got to fully experience New York, but other than LA, Chicago is like a place I just thoroughly always enjoy. I like I'm sure I would hate the winters. I've only ever been there in the summer. But it's a great city. Can't recommend it enough. It's a great tourist city, great museums. So I'm looking forward to going back and going to a game at Wrigley at some point in my life before I'm dead. So
yeah, let's hope I don't think that there would be any plans to build a new stadium.
No,
but
I don't think so.
Let's hope that
they renovate it. So
sure. Yeah. Well, that's good. We missed you last week. I mean, we have had one episode since you've been back. It was the 70s music, and we're going to take a break. I think we'll take a break from the Monday episodes for a couple weeks.
Just a little summer hiatus.
Yeah. Well, it's not, I mean, it is and it isn't, you know what I mean? Because we're just going to kind of take a break from that and for just a couple weeks, because I've got a lot of like work stuff and some mini trips planned and things like that. So we'll not do the Monday stuff for a while, and it'll just be the main thing. But due to your going on vacation, we have not yet reviewed Thor, Love and Thunder, and we have not yet reviewed the sixth and final episode of the best Marvel TV show as rated by Rotten Tomatoes.
That's correct.
Miss Marvel. So we're going to get into those things. And the first day of Comic-Con was today. There's going to be some trailer reactions for some of the things over at Comic-Con over on our YouTube channel. So you can check that out, San Diego Comic-Con. But there's bound to be more stuff. Oh, you're going to do a movie review.
I'm going to do a movie review. Yeah. Jamie and I will be seeing Nope this weekend. So we will have that.
Was a nope for me.
That's a nope for you.
It was a nope for me, dog.
Have you seen the other two Jordan Peele movies?
No.
No? I didn't know. Okay.
No. I don't watch horror movies. Like,
they're more psychological thrillers than they are horror, but
tomato.
Okay.
I don't. Yeah. So which do you want to do here? Which you want to do first?
Let's do Thor first. I think that's probably
okay.
Yeah.
So Thor, Love and Thunder. Typically this would get its own, full episode, as all the other big reviews have. But because of the vacation and the timing of everything, we're just kind of lump it into this episode. And so spoiler free, obviously we've all seen the previews. We have Thor's on a journey to find himself. He's eventually joined by the mighty Thor, Jane Foster, played by Natalie Portman, her return to the MCU, and they have to fight a terrible villainous villain by the name of Gore the God Butcher, who is going around killing all the gods, played very ably by Christian Bale, obviously, with many reprising their role. Tessa Thompson is King Valkyrie, Taika Waititi is the voice of Korg, the Guardians of the Galaxy, Christopher Pratt No, Zoe Saldana. So that's a thread that's still kind of hanging out there. But Batista and Bradley Cooper is Rocket. The voice of Rocket. Vin Diesel is the voice of Groot. And yeah. So with newcomers, Russell Crowe also joins the cast as a newcomer, and the hilarious additions of Matt Damon, Liam Hemsworth,
Yes.
Sam Neill, and Melissa McCarthy as the play actors. So that's also very delightful, obviously.
Yes.
Spoiler free.
Spoiler free.
Love and Thunder.
So I went into this movie. I mean, this was the one I was mostly anticipating. It's just because I like
Yeah.
Thor. I mean, I like Thor as a comic book. That was one of my probably top 5. I definitely owned a bunch of Thor, and I just liked it, the mythology behind it, everything like that. So I always just went into this like pretty stoked. And I will say I left pretty stoked too. I mean, and I will say I would say the positives and the negatives of this movie are the exact same thing, is that Marvel doesn't really know what to do with Thor. And I think that is both a positive and a negative. And I'll explain it like this without spoiling anything. Sure. Not knowing what to do with this character because they have like the contractual obligation kind of just makes it where it's just a classic Thor adventure, like they mentioned in the movie multiple times. Just another classic Thor adventure.
Right.
And to really not put him, the Guardians of the Galaxy are in this, but briefly, in the grand scheme of things. In a way, it's like I could see where some people may not like that, where it's like, oh, this isn't expanding the universe. This isn't pushing anything forward. But then again, like there's nothing wrong with Thor. And in another way I would look at it is this is almost like watching a comic book in the realest sense, where it's like, these are just classic Thor adventures, not meshing with Avengers stuff. This is just that standalone thing now where they're going to let this ride. And I really don't think they're going to mesh him with anything else at this point. I really don't. Maybe with Guardians, but not much further than that. I think they're just going to be classic Thor adventures until Chris Hemsworth's contract is done. And then that'll kind of just be it, which is fine. Because I really like these movies and I don't need to have the other things meshed in. I really don't, because I think there is this thing where it's like, the Spider-Man movies with Tobey Maguire worked for the most part for a reason, and there was no other meshing with anything else. And if you're gonna use Chris Hemsworth as Thor, probably the tertiary character of those original Avenger movies behind Cap and Iron Man, or Iron Man Cap, however you want to look at it. But I really enjoyed it, and I feel like for me to just walk out of this and enjoy it, and for it to follow the storyline it actually is in the comic book pretty closely, with all these characters, even though they meshed together into one, was fine for me. So I walked away like, oh, I enjoyed this and I like what they're doing, even though I literally thought to myself, I like what they're doing. I'm sure most people are like, well, this has nothing to do with the rest of it. And I think that's actually, for me, that is okay, because I don't really think what else are doing out there is necessarily something that I care that much about. I kind of am still old school and like the regular Avengers. And, if I just get classic Thor adventures and as a former Avenger, that is okay with me at this point.
I think that following Ragnarok, and then also Thor really stepping up, them really bringing that character to more prominence in both Infinity War and Endgame. I think that the expectations for this movie were impossibly high, and there was no way that they were going to meet those expectations. And I think that this is the result of having impossibly high expectations and not realistically being able to meet them. I thought that this was a fine movie, but it wasn't revolutionary the way for this character in the same way that Ragnarok was. And it felt like more of a sequel for Ragnarok than Ragnarok felt like a sequel to the first two.
Mhm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah. For
So
sure.
because
Same
they're
director too.
following-
I mean,
yeah,
you're
same
doing-
director, and they're following this kind of they're following this sort of change in direction for the character where he's a lot less. The first two, like the reason the first two Thor movies aren't the greatest is because it's almost like, and we talked about this when we did our MCU thing last summer. They're really acty, and they're almost like Shakespearean in some ways.
And they're supposed to be.
But it doesn't work.
Right. No.
This is a superhero movie, and superheroes are goofy unless they're Batman, right?
Right.
Like they're goofy. And so when Ragnarok came along and just kind of completely retooled this character, and then they carry that momentum into the two Avengers movies, coming out the other side, it was impossible to live up to expectations. And I think that some things were done, if you read interviews and kind of talk about like what was cut from the movie, I feel like there was probably a better movie in there, but the issue is that a lot of those things got cut because they didn't necessarily fit thematically with what they're going for as an overall sort of thing. Because if you read the Bale interviews, you know, there was a scene where he's as Gore giving himself the scars that you see with his character in the trailer. There was scenes cut with Peter Dinklage, Idris the Dwarf. There was scenes cut with Goldblum, the Grandmaster. Lena Headey had a whole situation where her scenes got cut, so she didn't get paid salary, and then her agency didn't get commission. And now that there's a lawsuit between the two of them,
right.
So it's all craziness on that end. So, excuse me. So I feel like at the end of the day, that this movie, that there was probably a quote unquote better or more compelling movie that was overall filmed. But because those elements did not necessarily fit thematically with this direction they're taking this character, they got cut. And that was in many ways to keep it family friendly, to keep it funny, to keep it, you know, not too dark, to keep, you know, a lot of those things that we kind of expect from Thor now. But at the end of the day, I think the final product suffered because of it. And I think that whereas you may have had a movie with all of those elements involved that was closer to Ragnarok in terms of quality, and you're maybe looking at like 8s and 9s in terms of a score, instead we get, you know, the finished product that we got, which is still a fun movie. But as far as like a movie goes, you're looking at maybe more like 7s, low 8, high end. And so with all that being said, we're going to get into spoilers now. So before we get into your specific spoiler thoughts, there are two things that I want to talk about. And I think one of them is just like a silly thing that made me mad. And the other thing was something that I think legitimately hurt the movie. Number one for me, on the spoiler end of things that I didn't particularly care for. Russell Crowe joined the cast as Zeus, the Greek god of lightning. And for some reason, he sounded like Mario. And I'm not 100% sure why. That's the angle that Russell Crowe, great Academy Award winning actor, decided to come at this role here of the Greek god of lightning by sounding like an Italian plumber.
Well,
it's a me,
Greece and Italy, you know, not that far off. Both make some sort of things with olives.
Sure. It's a god of thunder. It's a god of lightning. I was like, what?
I mean, they do have similar accents. I will say Russell Crowe, Academy Award actor. I'm not sure he's good at the accents. I don't know if that's really his. He's Australian.
He's fine.
Yeah, I know.
He played the Spaniard.
Yeah, but I don't know. It was, you know, it was also
weird.
comedic. It's supposed to be over the top, and like
it certainly was.
Yeah.
The other major problem I had was there was simply not enough of Gore the God Butcher in this movie.
And I would say that was my biggest problem too, was just not enough gore. I thought that at the end, not just because I think actually I will say it is because I just love Christian Bale, and he was great as this character.
Yeah.
And so I think having more of him in it is still called Thor. And I think that's always the thing. And this is not like, I mean, the Infinity movies, as I will just refer to them, obviously those are Thanos movies, right? And he's in those a lot. And I think that's one of those things where like Gore the God Butcher is not Thanos on the level and the scape. And so I think they didn't want to put that much on that character.
Well,
I think they could, and I think they could have though, and I don't think it hurts the movie at all. At worst, it doesn't hurt. At best, it helps very much. And even though I still, like I said, I very much enjoyed this movie. I just, like you said, I wish there was more gore.
Here's my thought on this: is that he was not the right villain for this movie. And what I mean by that is where we're at right now with these films, with these Thor films and the direction they're taking them, where they're a little bit zany, a little bit over the top, and they're kind of more for the kids. And like Grandmaster was perfect for that.
Right.
Because it's Jeff Goldblum, and he's
Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum is a human being, not even playing a character. Jeff Goldblum as a human being is over the top. Right. So he fit right in there like a glove. And with Hela as being kind of the more, in terms of like endgame final boss of that movie, she was there was enough of her. I think any more of her in that case would have been a bad thing. But I think that Gore the God Butcher, in the way that he was portrayed in this movie and the way that Bale played him, it was too much of a contrast between the rest of the movie, where it's like, happy title, it's Thor, we're having fun, he's throwing his shirt off, all this stuff, and then it's like this creepy guy who's kidnapping kids.
I think this is where I will go with this, is I think that number one, and their flags are black with that show aside, I like Taika
our flag means death.
Our flag means death, whatever. Whatever that show. I like him very much. I think this is it for him on these, because I think this was a thing where maybe the flaw shows through, where he couldn't combine something so dark as, because if you go back and read the actual comic books of this, or even you don't even have to read comic books, just read the synopsis of these. You can read the comic books, they're good. But it's so dark, and I think what happened is they wanted to get Gore the God Butcher in because you get Christian Bale, who you and I think we both agree is the greatest working actor right now.
Top three. I mean, well, let's say this: our favorite working actor right now. Sure. And you don't want to pass that up, and it showed. I mean, this is one of those things where he's so good still. Like, this is one, like, to see Christian Bale do this and to kind of be that, slimy, villainous type person in this, it really showed. So you want to have this character, and I agree where it doesn't necessarily work, but you also do not want to pass up on having that character. And then where else can you use him? Because I don't think, like I said, I don't think Thor is going to be teaming up with the Young Avengers. I don't think, and obviously, we're not getting any of the old guys back. I mean, we know that at this point. We're just not getting the old guys back. Well, we still have Clint and we still have Banner. So there's that.
Yeah, but I just don't think we're going to get them teamed up. I just don't. I don't think at this point. So I think you're trying to use him as much as you can, but then you're also playing in the thing you said, where it has to be funny and light to some degree. And it's just, this will be my final. And then you got, it's really hard to make a movie that matters when really nothing matters. And I don't mean this in our scheme of lies, but like Infinity War and Endgame, where like everything is at stake. Everything. Like, it's half the population is at stake. And in these movies now, that kind of stuff isn't happening yet until we get into the next big bad.
Which we don't know what is. And
Right.
we'll probably touch on more of that with the Miss Marvel thing.
Right. Exactly. And that's what I was thinking too. And it's just like, so this is going to be really hard because you don't have Spider-Man, who all his stuff is street level, and which makes Spider-Man so relatable. Spider-Man never deals with the big bad, but Thor also doesn't ever really deal with the big bad in just his solo comic books. He deals with these characters that are kind of in between, but he's also fucking Thor, who can pretty much beat everybody. Like, that's kind of the idea. And so there is this weird spot that Marvel is in. And as much as you and I have said, yes, they should have stopped at Endgame, they can't. You make this kind of money and you just can't stop. You can't stop. And they still make money. All these movies still make a ton of money. And that is the problem. You become, you die as a hero, you live long enough to become the villain. And it's almost like that's what's happening now. And not that I say that these movies are bad necessarily, because I still walked away liking Doctor Strange. I still walked away liking this movie. Fine. I'm not going to walk away like I did from Infinity War in Endgame, or even No Way Home. I mean, because No Way Home was the end of something. We do not have that character in the MCU anymore. That's it.
We don't know that.
But I mean, for the most part, that was kind of what they were trying to do.
Well,
they were trying to separate him.
They signed him for 3 more.
Well, for 3 more Spider-Mans in the Sony verse, but it's
they made the agreement that it was MCU.
Yeah, but you just don't know how much that's going to be tied in. I think that's still going to be that thing where it's just, I think that is an end of an era there.
They can afford to not have Spider-Man.
Right, I agree with you on that end, but I just don't know how much it'll tie in. I don't know how much of it matters because Spider-Man is the only character that does not need anyone else. And Thor needs Captain America needs someone else. I think we can totally agree on that. And it's, as much as I love the Winter Soldier, is like that movie was only amazing because they turned it into a spy movie and made it's a whole different thing. It's not a comic book movie at all. And I love the Thor stuff, but now I just don't know what Marvel really wants to do. And I don't think I'm the only one that thinks that. I think people at Marvel don't really know what they want to do. But we'll get into that, I think, with Miss Marvel more, actually.
Yeah. So here's what I would say is, you asked the question, where do you use gore if you don't use him here? Well, I think, and this is getting, into spoilers for the end credits, I think you use him in the next one.
You could.
I think it makes more sense.
The villain in this one?
That's the thing is maybe the next one's this one. Because they made so the important thing, the thing that brought people in, and I think that probably the fact that this was billed as a romantic comedy.
Right.
I think that you're trying to appeal to a demographic by bringing Natalie Portman in, but I think that as fun as it was for her to come back, and one of the end credits suggests that maybe this isn't the last that we'll see of her, but her character doesn't make it in the final battle. But I think that they put maybe appealing to certain demographics ahead of telling a coherent and interesting story, because I think that as we'll get into here, the end credits, the first one being that Zeus is not dead, even though he took a lightning bolt to the fucking sternum,
but he is Zeus,
not dead. But we see Roy fucking Kent, Brett Goldstein. He's here. He's there. He's every
he got
fucking
super
Roy
fucking
Kent.
jacked for that too.
That's CGI.
Listen, I don't think that's CGI. I think he fucking got jacked. They're like, you're gonna be Hercules. Get after it.
We see Hercules, and it's Brett Goldstein, and we get the end line. Thor will return. It's like, they could have condensed this into a situation where those two were fighting over the lightning bolt, whatever. Zeus takes the lightning bolt to the chest, and then they have to come together to defeat Gore. And I think that you can tell that story in a way that is more coherent and more interesting than the story that they told. And again, I'm not saying that I didn't like this movie. I liked it.
Right.
It's just that it did not meet the expectations, which I also thought were unnecessarily highly set. The bar for this movie was way too high.
Super
way
high.
too high.
Super high.
And there was no way they were going to hit that. And they did the best that they could. I don't know that this is Taika Waititi's last outing. I think that when you have the opportunity to do a trilogy, you do a trilogy.
Yes, I just think for him, he's getting a lot of stuff right now, and I'm not
he's
in
really
on that.
hot right now.
No, I mean, like, he's getting some backlash, hard backlash
from the movie.
Yeah, like hard.
I don't think he cares. I follow him on Instagram.
He doesn't
hanging
care,
out with his kids at a amusement park.
He's having great, and I really like him. Like I said, I really like him. I mean, that's. But I also think there's a point where, like, I just. Maybe it's Marvel fatigue too.
It is,
and I will say this.
I'll
say this. I really like this movie because I had really high expectations, but then I also had low expectations. And you know what I mean? Like my high expectations were like, I'm going to have a fun time with this because I like having fun with movies. Right. For me, this is my second favorite movie this year, and Top Gun is my favorite movie this year.
You like this better than The Batman? You like
it's my third. I want
to
say Batman happened this year because this year has been 6 years. The Batman's my favorite movie, Top Gun, and then this. Okay, so my third favorite. Sorry, the Batman just totally. That felt like a year. That literally, I'm not kidding, Brenton. That felt like a year ago. Holy cow, that's crazy to me that the Batman came out in April, right? It was April. Or is it March?
God, it
felt like
it wasn't even that long ago. That's the thing. It's only been like 3.5 months.
That's crazy. It felt so much longer than that. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so good call. Good getting me on that. The Batman was awesome, but it's just I just don't know what Marvel can do right now to appeal on a grand level to people like us. And I really mean that is because we went through.
March 4th, the Batman, March 4th.
Okay. We are the key demographic for what happened in that first, and I call it the first phase. I know there's 4 phases of it, but I'm talking about the actual first phase of, there's
the Infinity Saga.
Before Tony Stark dies and after Tony Stark. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing. It's like spoilers. Just
right.
Yeah. But
spoilers for the biggest movie ever.
Right. Yeah. But my thing is, like, what do you do now? Because you and I have talked about this. It's like those movies, even looking back, are like even better now. They seem better now.
Yeah.
Than they even were.
Yeah. I texted you the other night. I was like, what was it? Ultron was on TNT on Hulu. And like going through
I love Ultron.
MCU and review.
I like it more every time.
Ultron is kind of viewed as the weak sister of all the Avengers movies, and to an extent it is, right? But I'll tell you what, man, Age of Ultron take out Spider-Man, and Age of Ultron eats the lunch of everything in Phase 4. I was gonna save this. Yeah. I was actually gonna save this for Miss Marvel, but since we're kind of here now, I'm just gonna bring it up right now. And this was via IGN about a week ago. MCU Run Times by Phase. Phase 1, 6 films, 12.4 hours. Phase 2, 6 films, 12.7 hours. Phase 3, 11 films, 24.9 hours. Phase 4 so far, 6 films, 7 shows, 49.5 hours. And this is the thing.
So much.
I'm going to tell you what they need to do. They have released so much content in the past year, because a year ago was Black Widow. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So the shows that started in the spring of last year,
and that feels like 6 years ago. Honest to God, it feels like forever.
They need to, like, it's become a lifestyle choice.
Yeah.
To follow the MCU and absorb everything in the MCU, because if you think about it, it was all the shows. It was What If, it was Loki, it was WandaVision, it was Falcon and Winter Soldier, all these different shows. Now there's new shows with Moon Knight, Miss Marvel, and they're getting so deep into these Shang-Chi, which we liked Shang-Chi.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Shang-Chi, the Eternals, some of this, all the weird multiverse stuff. It's become a lifestyle choice to keep up with this. And it's a big ask for people who like just want to, like the first phase for the MCU was what I say it was 12 hours, 12
Yeah.
hours,
Yeah, 12 hours,
12.4,
something like yeah.
6 movies over 4 years. That's like super manageable. Super manageable.
Oh, well,
But it
Mike
was
picked
like but like now it's like a
veggies.
It's a lifestyle choice.
It's
good that
it's
you're
too
high
much.
on fiber. I like
Yeah,
that. It's good for your it's good for the angry gut.
It is.
But listen, I'll tell you what they need to do, right?
Yeah.
Go the fuck away.
Yeah.
Because we got Batman v Superman, and then we got the shitty Snyder or the non-Snyder cut in 2017.
Yeah.
And they went away.
Yep.
Batman went away. And when your favorite character's gone and comes back in a different and new and exciting way, and you're not beaten over the head constantly by these cookie cutter storylines and these different, it's the same thing over and over and over again. Yeah. And you get a character who comes back. To be honest with you, that's what worked for Thor. Right? After Ultron, Thor went away until Ragnarok, and it was a completely different thing.
Yep.
And that's what worked for him. And that's what worked for the Batman. That's why the Batman was so cool. And I was telling somebody today, I was like, I can understand why people don't like the Batman. It's really long. There's not a ton of action. It's very noir, all that stuff, right? Right. But you have to respect the greatness of that movie, whether you like it or not. Like you have to understand why it's good. And I think that Marvel's kind of lost that, where it's just like,
here's a movie. They're just spitting out things at this point.
It's almost like the comics. It's like, you know, we've said like, oh, this is a comic book thing. And, you know, these are like the comics. It's getting to the point, and I can't remember where we joked along the line. It was between one movie and how they always have like in the frames of a comic book, if it's referring back to something, it's like, see page 49 of issue 120 of the Amazing Spider-Man. And it's like all that. And it's like getting to that point where it's like, you can't follow things. And the problem is that they're so all over the place right now. And Feige has said, well, within the next 10 months, everything will be revealed as far as who the next major enemy is and what that plot point's going to look like. In 10 months, we're going to have another 50 hours of content.
I would hope we'd have something.
And so it's like, you know, as a standalone thing, this movie, Thor: Love and Thunder, was fine. It wasn't as good as Ragnarok. It was still head and shoulders better than the first.
I give it. I mean, I will just say Natalie Portman. We didn't talk about her.
Yeah, sure.
I thought she was great in this movie.
Yeah.
I really did. I really thought she was great, not just because she had some serious guns. Because she looked when she was jacked up.
But but here's my other problem with that whole storyline.
Yeah.
Okay. Is they literally fucking time traveled.
Yeah.
But nobody's got a cure for cancer.
Yeah. I mean, that's in the comic books. That is in the her storyline actually matches the comic like exactly to a T. So they don't have a cure for cancer. Do time travel. That is a comic book thing. So because time travel doesn't hurt the medical industry. Big pharma. Never forget.
Right.
Big pharma.
Right. Big pharma.
So I thought everybody was great. It was just one of those things, say that not as good as Ragnarok. I left thinking it was better, but then I like walked out like Ragnarok kind of set the standard for that. So for me, I will say I'll just flat 8. I do think it was entertaining enough for me, and the flaws were there, but I'll give it an 8, Brian.
I have to stick with like a 7 for this, just because I really get the feeling that there was a better movie under there and we didn't get to see it because they needed to sell toys and Happy Meals. So
they even have Happy Meals for this?
Yeah, they did. I've got like half the
Okay.
toys.
I knew there was
them.
Buzz
Like
Lightyear or something.
two-thirds of the toys. Yeah, I can
Do you have
grab
a
some.
Thor?
We have Thor, we have golden armor Thor, we have mighty Thor, we have Rocket, we have Groot, and we have
Wow,
Korg.
that's cool.
Well, we go to McDonald's a lot.
So you have Natalie Portman. Is she
Hold on,
jacked?
I'll just grab
huge. Oh, sick.
Tell some jokes.
So the other thing I'll say about when we were in Chicago that was just very funny, or actually went to Milwaukee. This is a quick story. When we went to the Brewers game, I went to use Apple Pay to pay for my beers. And the guy there, very nice. I was like, "Oh, how does this work on this one?" Because they're all different. The Apple Pays. He's like, "I've never seen anyone use this." And when it worked, he's like, "Oh, it's magic." So his genuine enthusiasm was great. Also, we were standing. I always like to walk the stadium, and we were just standing there in the outfield, and a guy with a Texas Rangers shirt comes on, asked us if this walk around, and I said, "I don't know. This is my first time here." We talked about Texas Ranger baseball for a little bit. Really pleasant guy. So just a very pleasant atmosphere. Just talking about the Brewers, Brendan.
Oh, okay.
Very pleasant atmosphere at the Brewers. Recommend enough. If you take one Western baseball trip and it's not Wrigley because they have a rain out, Milwaukee.
So, I guess we don't have the mighty Thor, and Korg didn't make it in from the van tonight, but we have gold Thor, gold
that. Oh, they're so cool.
Gold armor Thor. A little bit of karate chop action.
Oh, yeah, sick.
We got regular Thor here.
Yeah. Oh, I like regular Thor. Does he have any action? No, he just stands.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, no, he's got some.
A little. Okay, cool.
Yeah. We got Rocket.
Yes.
That's something we didn't talk about. The Guardians were really marketed as being a big part of this movie.
Yeah, in and out.
Then they just weren't.
Speaking of fast food, yeah.
Yeah. And then we got Groot. I'm Groot.
Nice. I like that.
And like I said, we have Korg too, but he didn't make it in from the, and they do, they like connect.
Oh, sick.
There's so
much Happy Meal stuff. It's hard for me to keep up because I don't have children and I don't go to McDonald's. So it's two things.
But they connect.
That's good.
It's hard to, it's like they connect like that.
McDonald's, if you want to sponsor us, though, I will go there.
Yeah.
We'll do it for a cool 250,000 K.
Yeah. I'll just do it for free Happy Meals. They're like some of the things they get real into, like collecting the different stuff. Like when the Disney 50th anniversary Happy Meals were out,
all right. Yeah,
we try to get as many of those as possible. When Sonic, I think we have all the Sonic Happy Meal toys, or at least like a lot of them.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, so that's that. Thor, Love and Thunder, 7.5.
7.5
for us. Okay, we're gonna move on to Miss Marvel, right? Yeah. It's been like, at this point, I feel like it's been so long since I watched this show. Was it 2 weeks ago?
Been about a week. It came out last week.
Oh my god, it feels like eternity. Feels like
an eternity. I'm saying time is crazy.
Time is a flat circle. Rustin Cole, True Detective. So the last episode, she's back. Cameron has powers. They need to get him safe, so she makes travel arrangements for him to get to Pakistan. And Damage Control shows up, and they make their stand against Damage Control in the high school where Kamala and her friends attend school. They get an assist from her brother, and it just becomes Marvel meets Home Alone for a while, until there's sort of a final showdown at the end of the episode. And then there's some end credits, which, spoilers on the end credits here for the next 10 seconds. She gets sucked into what appears to be an alternate dimension, and Brie Larson pops out of the closet looking like Brie Larson,
which is good,
which is not a bad thing to look like.
If Brie Larson popped out of your closet,
cool. That threw me off a little bit. So the best Marvel show according to Rotten Tomatoes. What did you think of the final episode and then the season as a whole?
Okay.
Oh, so and there was a big. I should let me back up.
Sure.
We also learned towards the end of the show that Kamala's genes are. Unlike the rest of her families, there's a bit of a mutation there.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I said on the last episode that we reviewed this that I was excited for. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was wrong. I could not wait for this episode to end. I feel really bad. Like it was just, I felt nothing burger for me, like nothing. And there was no progress made. Like once, like I know it was just the big reveal was her being a mutant, and so X-Men. Well, I mean, like sorry, yeah, whatever.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe, but it was like I don't care about Cameron. He hasn't made music in 15, 16 years, and so like I didn't give a shit about that, and like I just didn't care about him. Like I just didn't understand why he was important, and it was about him that made him cool to me. I liked his car, that Porsche. That was a cool car, but it was just, we talked about how the episodes were too long to begin with. And then this one was just like, could have been 15, 20 minutes shorter and you get the storyline, everything. It was a big problem. I mean, you went on the timelines with all the phases. This show suffered from it the most. Every single episode could have been 15 minutes shorter and you get the stories. You just didn't need all that. That Home Alone prank stuff in the school was just 10 minutes we didn't need. It just wasn't. I'm sorry. Like it's nothing against this show. It's what they're trying to do, and they're just forcing it down our throats essentially. And I just don't care. Like, oh, Ms. Marvel will return in the Marvels. Like, just tell me Brie Larson's going to be back. Like, that's. I know that sounds. It's like, thank you, we got to see her and stuff like. Just like, I don't care about this character, and I just don't, there's nothing that made me care about this character, that there was nothing here that made it like, I know that they want to branch out. I know they're trying to do different things, and that's awesome. And that's cool. You could have like made this show more important, and there's just nothing here. I just didn't feel anything. You know who also is a high schooler? Peter fucking Parker. And I care about Peter fucking Parker. And it's like, and all his friends, you care about his friends too. And like, shit about any of these people. I just didn't care. They just put zero effort in the storyline for this. And I know Spider-Man is, I totally get that. I get that. But there was just, I just didn't care. I just wanted it to end. I was like, I just want this to end. I kept delaying it. I'd watch 5 minutes of them like, this is boring. I'd watch another 5 minutes like, this is boring. And I put my headphones in, watched it on my phone so I could fully be engaged. So the only thing I can look at on my phone is this show. And it just, this episode was a no for me, dog, all the way. Like, so it just didn't work.
The episode as a whole, the episode as a whole, like, I agree. This episode was unnecessary. I almost felt like the 5th episode was really strong.
Yeah,
and they should have just ended it there. And this goes to show you, we said it with Moon Knight, we've said it with a lot of these other shows. They do not know how to stick the landing on these shows. No. And it's like, oh, well, we have to have an action-packed finale. And you just didn't. You didn't. I thought that this episode took away from the series as a whole.
Yeah.
You know, I guess she got to have her like, I'm a hero moment. And that's what this whole episode was building towards, where it's like the whole, I'm Miss Marvel, I'm a hero, I'm going to save, you know, these people, and then I'm going to flee into the darkness. But I almost felt like it would have been more compelling to end after the 5th episode where, okay, now everybody knows, now her whole family knows she saved, you know, whatever, she saved the dimension or the realm or fuck, I don't even know at this point. But and that could have been it.
May walking in on Peter with the Spider-Man costume on.
Right.
And that's how a movie ends. Like that's
right. And so I think that, excuse me, I think that this episode was a little bit of a disservice. And, now the question is, what does she bring to that movie? Because she's already she's had her hero moment. And, there's going to be some, and it like leads me to believe that with Bree popping, Kamala disappearing and Danvers popping in, was this not even in our dimension? Or whatever, is this instead of being on Earth 616 or whatever they're calling, base reality in the MCU, is this somewhere else? And then she just got swapped. I don't know. And then the mutant thing, which is, I will say that even though this phase feels like it has no direction whatsoever, they have left this breadcrumb pointing towards the X-Men. And I do feel as though, and we've said it somewhere along the line, is this phase is a holding pattern until you get to the X-Men, until you get to Wolverine, to a lesser extent Fantastic Four, and then start bringing in some of those other characters like Silver Surfer and what have you. So, but as interested as I am for She-Hulk, this show, again, on its own, not that bad. But as we're trying to build something, it just seems like they're just throwing a bunch of shit at the wall and hoping some of it sticks. And it feels even, and that's what I guess is like even more disappointing, that we don't know if we're going to get more Moon Knight, because that was the one thing that definitely stuck the landing. And it's like in complete limbo as far as there's going to be, more seasons. That was left on a cliffhanger. We don't know what Oscar Isaac's contract is, his situation is. So, but not to talk about all those things, but I thought that this show really picked up steam as it went along, and then it just fell off a cliff. This last episode, where it was just like, it just wasn't necessary. And I thought that they did a beautiful job, wrapping it up in the 5th episode. And this was just shoehorned in to be like a funny, with the Home Alone style in the school pranks, like this sort of funny, zany, action-packed, Kamala gets her hero moment. And that's why we need to have this episode, where I think if they really would have thought about it, they really could have just cut this episode or done something entirely different. But the episode didn't work for me, but as a series as a whole, I did enjoy it. I thought it built over time, and I like her. I like, the character. I like the actress more than I like the character. I think very charming, as I've said. But I just don't know. This is definitely in the lower tier for me personally in terms of the TV shows.
I think it's my least favorite TV show, where it could have been in the middle with a strong episode. I think a stronger less episode would have really helped it. But like you said, it fell off the cliff, and that really hurt. I mean, for me, it's, like you said, we're all billing the X-Men, and we all know that everyone loves the X-Men. Everyone does. That's a fact. Even bad X-Men movies, people go and see, and the way it is. And and they seem to know what they're doing with things that are big and on a scale like that. And so if everything leads to the X-Men, we'll see 3 claws come out at the end of a movie. Yeah. And we'll be like, oh, so here's Wolverine. And now
go away.
Yeah.
Go away until
go away. Go away. Yeah, go away.
As great as Moon Knight was, did it serve everything else as a whole? No, not really. So
you just can't anymore. Like, that's the thing. I don't think that they can. But what would you rate this, Brendan? You said
6.
Exactly. I would say 6. Yep.
Yep. Like I said, lower tier for me. On the bottom end,
I think the highest end of things, it could have been a 7 with a good final episode.
Maybe a 7.5, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. I just
Yeah.
That was just a bummer.
I just there were two episodes that really stood out. The wedding episode, and then the last
wedding episode was the best episode.
Yeah, and then and then the fifth episode where she's kind of has to like see how all this unfolded through her great grandmother's eyes was cool. So media recommendations.
So watched The Bear.
And we're gonna review that next week.
We're gonna review that next week. We're actually rewatching it right now. We both really love it. I worked in a restaurant for about 2 years, a little over 2 years, and weird flashbacks and weird stress, and Janie sitting there, and we'll get into a review, but it was just like, but it's also just really well done. The one thing I will say, just flat out soundtrack, man, killer. Absolutely bangers all the way. But and I'm also reading My Little Friend by Donna Tartt. Just really good book. It's a big book. I'm reading that right now. What about you, Brandon?
I've been playing a lot lately. I got the new PlayStation Plus subscription service, and I've been playing older games, and I finished I finished the 2019 remake of the PS1 game Medieval.
Sick.
Some people
I remember that game.
I remember the Adventures of Sir Daniel Fortescue. So I just finished that last night. But I've been playing a lot, and I'm looking forward to watching The Bear. Yeah, definitely. Although my daughter got mad because she can't watch it because her nickname's Claire Bear, and she doesn't understand why.
She doesn't understand. Yeah,
she doesn't get it, but
someday she'll get to watch it.
Sure. The BXG podcast publishes every Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 a.m. Pacific, 4 a.m. Hawaiian.
Aloha.
On pod services around the globe, wherever you get your podcasts. You catch us on social media, Instagram at BXG Podcast, at Twitter, at Alpha Donut Guy, at GT Phils, Twitter at
Plagiarizer.
What?
Pizza Plagiarizer.
Yeah, Well, there you go. Catch us on the socials. Go to our YouTube channel, watch the trailer reactions. It's great fun. Take care, friends. Take care. Have a great
and listening, all that stuff.
Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.